The woman who trains twice a week will always beat the woman who trains 6 days a week for 1 month and then quits. Perfectionism sounds really productive, but often it's just fear wearing a nice outfit. Have you ever had one of those weeks where everything feels like it's just all happening at once? Maybe the kids got sick, maybe work exploded, maybe family came to stay, maybe you missed a workout, then two, and then suddenly it's Friday, and then you're telling yourself you'll start again on Monday. And if you've ever been there, I want you to know something. You're not failing. You're actually living. And I think somewhere along the way, we've been sold this idea that consistency means sticking to the plan perfectly, no matter what life throws at us. But real consistency doesn't happen when life is calm. It actually happens when life isn't. So today I want to talk about why so many women fall into the all or nothing trap, what consistency actually looks like in the real world, and how to stop starting over every single Monday. Now, most women unconsciously believe that results happen on the weeks where everything goes perfectly. So if you think about a year, how many perfect weeks actually exist? Now, I see this with my clients, and I know through obviously lived experience as well. And I know so many other women who navigate these situations. But you might find that you have school holidays, kids are sick, someone's birthday pops up, work deadlines, visitors are staying over, a holiday, a stressful period of life. Then we've got hormonal fluctuations, poor sleep, financial stress too. And if we add that up, that's potentially half of a year. So if someone can only stay on track when none of those things are actually happening, they're essentially only got to be able to stay consistent 50% of the time. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make is expecting life to cooperate. And we often try to build plans around ideal circumstances. So things like a perfect working week, the kids sleeping through at night, no social events, no travel, no stress, and having all the motivation in the world. But when has life actually looked like that? Like realistically, and if you think about a year, how many perfect weeks actually exist? They just don't. They genuinely don't. You've also then got to add in and think about the likes of FIFO partners or people who might be working shift work, things like that. There's so much that goes on and there's so many moving pieces. But I think the biggest point here is that disruption isn't the exception here, it's the expectation. Okay. And this is where so many of us think I've fallen off track, when in reality, it's just you encountered reality. That's it. The plan did. And it's absolutely fine. Because when you think about your routine, if your routine only works when life is perfect, it's not a true routine. It's an actual fantasy. So I want you to think about when you try and plan out your week, like, do you stop and forecast what's actually going to happen? What is the minimum that you can give? Most women I actually work with are incredibly capable. They're successful in their careers, they're great mums, they're organized, they're driven. And ironically, this is actually why they struggle. Now, perfectionism sounds really productive. It sounds ambitious, but often it's just fear wearing a nice outfit. And one thing that I want you to remember is that fitness rewards repetition, not perfection. And another really powerful analogy that I like that I heard ages ago is that when you imagine that you're brushing your teeth, right? If you forgot one night, would you then stop brushing your teeth for the next 2 weeks? Like, you wouldn't. You would just get back into it the next night. And this is how we all treat training and nutrition when we're first starting out and we're learning all of these things. So many people think of it as just, we can just start over, and we start over weeks later. But when we're aiming really high, perfection actually then lowers the standard because you quit whenever excellence isn't available. And the woman who trains twice a week for a year will always beat the woman who trains 6 days a week for 1 month and then quits. I also find a lot of the time perfectionists seem to create these invisible rules, and I am a recovering perfectionist, so I know these rules firsthand. If I can't do 5 workouts, like, what is the point? If I can't track perfectly, I'll just stop tracking. If I ate one bad meal, today is completely ruined and I'll just restart on Monday. Now, this thing creates a really interesting loop. And I'm sure, if you are a recovering perfectionist, you will know this too, but you'll find you'll miss a habit. You'll then feel really guilty about it. You'll then judge yourself. You'll pull yourself away from the habit. And then you'll promise yourself a lovely fresh start. And then it's just got to repeat. So I want you to ask yourself, what if the missed workout isn't actually the problem? What if it's the guilt afterwards? And this, my friends, is where confidence gets damaged, because every restart message that you send, like the I can't trust myself messages, over time, you will then stop believing that you are then capable of consistency. Not because you're not able of that. It's because you've then defined consistency as a perfection. Now, I do want to jump into talk about what consistency actually looks like, because I find a lot of the time people think that consistency means like the same calories, the same workouts, the same step goal, the same routine. But what if consistency wasn't about doing everything? What if it was about never disappearing completely? And I want you to think about consistency as returning quickly and building your resilience up. Okay. So consistency equals returning quickly and building that resilience up. Okay. That's what we want to be focusing on. Life has its seasons though. And sometimes seasons look like growth seasons, sometimes they're maintenance seasons, sometimes they're just survival seasons, if I'm being honest. And every season requires different expectations. So when I'm launching something, my routine does not look the same as what it does when things are quiet. I'm still looking after myself, but I adjust that expectation there and what success actually looks like. Now, this is called the minimum effective dose. And this is something that I talk about heavily within coaching with my clients. Every habit here with a minimum effective dose has a version so small, it's almost impossible to fail. Okay. So when you think about a workout, yeah, your ideal workout might be 60 minutes, but you may only have 15 minutes to go for a walk. Yes. Okay. Ideal situation with steps might be 10,000 steps, but you physically may not be able to do it that day. So you got to aim for 5,000. With protein, for example, you may have a target of 130 grams worth of protein, but you may physically not be able to track that day. So you may just focus on having protein at every single meal. With water, yeah, okay, it's going to be great if you can have 3 liters, and that's perfect in an ideal world. But you may just have an option to finish 1 bottle that day because life is just busy. The goal here is to never reach 0, because habits are easier to maintain than to rebuild from scratch. And momentum doesn't come from doing a lot. Momentum comes from just continuing through. So like I said, you may have this example of a ideal week, which it might be doing 4 workouts, it might be doing 10,000 steps, it might be doing all your meal prep, hitting 120 grams worth of protein, 8 hours sleep, 3 liters of water. I can tell you now that doesn't happen. That doesn't even happen with me, right? Yes, we can strive for that, but on the weeks that are really hard, sometimes it looks like only doing 2 workouts. Sometimes it's only doing 6,000 steps. Sometimes, again, it might be focusing on just having a protein source at every single meal. It might be your water bottle finished twice. This is still successful. It's still moving forward. It's still maintaining identity. Because the thing is we want to make sure that your goals are just ticking along all year round, okay? And another great way I want you to think of your weeks is also by like a traffic light system. So, a green week, and maybe life is calm, we can go hard. An amber week, it might be life is a little bit busy. We just need to pull back ever so slightly. And we might then start to rely on some of the other tools in our tool belt. Red week, life is chaos, okay? And we want to be protecting the basics or the big rocks here and really, really trying hard to protect them. We want to be making sure that we stop and we plan for all 3 of these weeks using the minimum effective dose. Okay, so what is the thing that you can achieve on the best week, and what is the thing that you can achieve on the hardest week? Now, most people do this, I find. Like, I missed a week, I need a detox. I need a new meal plan. I need more motivation. I need to get serious. But you don't need a new plan. You don't need a new meal plan. You don't need more motivation. You don't need to get more serious. You just need to restart your old one. Because what happens here is like we think that we lose progress because we missed a week, but you actually lose progress because of the story that you keep telling yourself after they've missed a week. What if missing a week wasn't evidence that you're actually inconsistent? What if it was simply evidence that you're just human? So one of the rules that I really like to have that I stick in my tool belt, and I obviously encourage all of my clients to, is to never miss twice. So I want you to think about 2 women So woman A, she misses one workout. She then jumps in tomorrow and she does her training session. Woman B misses one workout and then she just waits until Monday. These small delays then start to become like months and years. But the goal here is that we actually reduce the gap, because the gap is what determines the outcome. So if you have not read the book Atomic Habits, I believe it's, oh my goodness, the author's just gone, James Clear. He talks about the never miss twice rule, and it's really great. So, like if you didn't reach all your water today, tomorrow, you're going to focus on that, because we never miss twice. Same thing with, like I said, about the training session, right? We want to focus on, just jumping back into things as soon as we can. So when you think about a woman who falls off for like 1 day, 3 days, 1 week, will have very, very different results from someone who falls off for 3 months, because results just don't come from never falling off. They come from becoming someone who gets back on track quickly. And I really want you to think, what would a consistent person do today? Not what would the perfect person do. So a consistent person might go for a 15-minute walk. They will focus on getting protein in their breakfast. They'll drink water, does 1 workout instead of 4. Yes, that behavior is smaller, but their identity stays intact. And every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a tiny one, you're then casting a vote for the person that you're becoming. And this is actually how true confidence is built. And it comes from asking yourself, what do I need to do? And asking yourself, who do I want to become? So some examples of that could be, I want to become someone who prioritizes her health. I want to become someone who keeps promises to herself. I want to become someone who exercises regularly. Then every action becomes evidence, not because it's perfect, because it reinforces identity. A 5-minute walk still counts. Protein at breakfast still counts. 1 workout still counts. Every action casts a vote. One of my favorite examples is, imagine that you're trying to quit, or imagine someone trying to quit smoking. If they don't then smoke for 1 day, are they then classed as a non-smoker? Not really, but they act like one. And then they keep repeating that again and again. So I want you to do something after this episode. I want you to grab a piece of paper or in the notes app in your phone. I want you to write down what your minimum week looks like. Not your perfect week, not your best week, your hardest week version. So example, my minimum week is 2 workouts. It'll be protein at every meal, water bottle twice per day, a 20-minute walk, bed before 10 p.m. at least 3 nights out of the week. And I want you to put this somewhere visible. Like I said, in the notes section or on your phone or on your fridge somewhere, okay? Because this list isn't your ceiling. This is going to be your anchor. And I want you to remember this. The women who achieve long-term results aren't the women who never fall off. They're the women who stop making falling off actually mean something about who they are. Because life has got to get busy. You're going to miss workouts. You're going to have imperfect weeks. But the question isn't whether that happens. The question is how quickly you come back. Because every single time that you do, that's consistency. And that's resilience. And that's where the real transformation happens here. Now, if this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you could send it to a friend who keeps telling herself that she would start all over again on Monday. And if you are listening on the likes of Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I would love for you to leave a review. It helps more women find the show and realize that they're not the only ones who are struggling.